How's it going, YouTube? Here we are again. It's time for another video. And this one we're going to call How God Sees Me. And, I prayed for a couple days, like, God, what do you want me to talk about? What do you want to reveal to me? And God said, you know what? I want you to talk about Jacob. And when you think of Jacob, you think, okay, that's going to be an easy one. That's that guy that God changed his name to Israel. And, that whole nation's named after him. But you know what? I kind of had a view of Jacob that wasn't right. Okay? I looked at Jacob and I said, well, he kind of messed up when he was younger. And he didn't really do nothing spectacular. He had 12 kids. He made a coat. But he wasn't like Elijah who calls down fire from heaven. He wasn't like David who had a heart after God. He wasn't like Solomon who with his wisdom, or one of the apostles who died for their faith in Jesus, right? He wasn't that. He seemed pretty average, right? And, I think a lot of people, his father included, and me, thought of Jacob that way. He's just this average person. He's nothing special. In fact, Isaac loved Esau more. He said, you look at Esau, he was this manly man that people would want to follow. And he probably thought, man, this is who God wants to build his nation after, right? This is definitely the person that God would choose. But that's not the facts. That's not who God chose. And call it whatever you want, but that's not what God's plan was. And I can tell you why it was. It's because of Jacob's heart. And Jacob, after he had taken the blessing and all that, Isaac sent him to his uncle Laban to find a wife. He said, don't marry the women around here. Go to your uncle Laban and find a wife, right? And so that's what Jacob did. And on his way to his uncle Laban's, God reveals himself to Jacob. And he speaks to him and he says, this is what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to bring you back here. I'm bringing you back to this place where your father's at. And I'm going to make you a great nation. And I'm going to give you this land. I'm going to do all this stuff for you, right? And this is Jacob's response is in Genesis 28:21. And it shows Jacob's heart. And it says, then Jacob made a vow saying, if God will be with me and keep me in this way that I am going, and give me bread to eat and clothing to put on, so that I come back to my father's house in peace, then the Lord shall be my God. And you look at that and you say, well, he's kind of making a deal with God. If you're going to do this, then you'll be my God. And how many times do we do the same thing? God, if you just heal this person, if you just give me this one thing, if you just do this for me, God, I will trust in you. I'll put all my faith in you. I'll do whatever you ask me to. But do we? Do we? See, God sees us. How does he see you? How does he see me, right? And the other thing I see about Jacob is it's kind of like when we come to God, right? We're kind of messed up before. We're kind of tricking our way through life, right? We're kind of cheating and stealing and getting whatever we can. And then we come to God and he gives us makes us a new person, gives us a new name, right? And we change. Our life has changed. And you see, Jacob did all this stuff before, but he's about to spend 7 years with a promise to get something, and after 7 years be tricked and be given something different. And be told, okay, you work 7 more years, I'll give you what you originally wanted. And he finally is given it, and then, later on being tricked, financially by the same person. And you know what? In all of it, we don't see Jacob say, God, why aren't you faithful to me? Why don't you do what you promised? I can't believe you didn't do what you said you were going to do. He doesn't question God once. He trusted that God was who he said he was, and he was going to do what he said he would do. He put all his faith and trust in God. That's salvation. That's a heart that God wants. That's a heart that God can use. Yeah, he didn't know nothing special other than, he just didn't question God once. No matter what. He believed that God would be faithful and that God would do what he said he would do, right? Who are we Because that's what God saw. That's the heart that God saw. How does God see us? Are we going to put all our faith and trust in him? And believe he's going to do what he said he was going to do? Or are we going to turn around and be like, God, you didn't do this, so I'm not going to do what I said? You see, Jacob did his part, and he just trusted that God was going to do everything he said he was going to do. Are you able to do that? Am I able to do that? That's what God laid upon me, right? He said, this is the kind of heart that I'm looking for. And you know, it says in Deuteronomy 7:9, it says, therefore, know the Lord your God. He is God, the faithful God, who keeps covenant and mercy for 1,000 generations with those who love him and keep his commandments. You see, we can go to God and we can say, God, if you'll just do this, I'll trust you and put my faith in you. But will we? You see, Jacob made a choice. And regardless, he went down that path. And he stayed on that path, right? He didn't alter. He didn't say, God, you didn't do this. You didn't do that. Look at how I'm being treated, God. Where are you being faithful to me in this, Lord? And you know, later on when Laban was trying to say, okay, well, you can have the worst of the goats in this. Well, a lot more goats were the worst, right? God blessed him. And then he changed it again. He said, oh, no, you can have the spotted and speckled ones. And, you know, it turned out a lot more that way, right? Because he tried to take something. God was faithful, you know? And, you know, Jacob could have said in the first part, I spent 7 years and you weren't faithful. I'm not going to do this no more. But he didn't. He kept on. You see, God sees your heart. We might see somebody that we look at as average and through life, right? But God might have a key plan for you. You might be average, but my God, who knows what God has in store for you? If you keep his commandments, if you put your trust in him. If you don't, you'll never know. You start questioning him, you'll never know his faithfulness. That's what he laid upon my heart on this. Man, I hope you put your faith and trust in God the way Jacob did. You know, like I said, I looked at Jacob in the past and said, you know, nothing special. But now I look at Jacob and I say, Lord, give me faith like him. Give me trust in you like Jacob. And that's what I want, right? What do you want? What is your heart? How does God see you? Maybe nobody sees you how God sees you, but he wants to use you. Keep that in mind, right? Have a great week. I'll talk to you next week. And as always, I hope you're blessed. Hope you're moved by God and how he talks to you personally. Have a great week.